Immigration in Canada is so dysfunctional, honestly it's hard to believe. People from anywhere in the world can apply to enter Canada on a tourist visa. When they get here, they can download an app to claim asylum. No in-person vetting process, just a tap on your phone screen and suddenly you're an asylum seeker. Then, regardless of the accuracy of your claim, you get to sit in the backlog process for what could be years. There are roughly 500,000 open claims right now. While you wait, you get to enjoy generous, free, or rather taxpayer-funded healthcare through the IFHP, which even includes things like pharmaceuticals, prosthetics, and dental care. Things that even Canadian citizens don't necessarily have access to. If they have children, they can put them in our education system. Technically, it's not allowed, but it's not enforced either. Then, if you happen to have a child while you're here, the government will pay you almost $8,000 per child per year. The Canadian government has paid more than $7 billion over the last 9 years to non-citizens through the Canada Child Benefit. And on top of that, those kids are automatically granted Canadian citizenship, which can then be used to get citizenship for their parents or even extended family members. Even if an asylum claim is ultimately rejected, these people have still got to enjoy years of taxpayer-funded benefits. And if they have a child, they are almost guaranteed to stay. This is why people keep flooding into our country. Not only are they not punished, they reap rewards for abusing our system. We call these pull factors, government incentives that are pulling migrants into our country. Migrants aren't really to blame here. They're only acting rationally given the set of incentives offered by the Canadian government. The first step towards remigration is to end all of these programs. These people will start to return to their countries voluntarily as soon as we turn off their benefits. They have no loyalty to this country. They are here purely for the free stuff. Even more broadly, it is time for a modernization of the asylum program. We must view all policies through a nationalist lens. The question should not be, what is the most fair behind a veil of ignorance? It should be, how does this benefit the Canadian people? If the answer is it doesn't, the policy is in need of reform or repeal. Canadians are a generous people. Forged in a hostile environment, we develop strong communitarian ties as a mode of survival. But our generosity is being abused. Our people deserve the best in the world, but we do not owe foreigners the same benefits. Canada needs remigration. It's time to axe the programs, shut down the asylum system, and send these economic migrants masquerading as asylum seekers back home. Long live Canada.
I guess the takeaway when I saw that this morning, my takeaway anyway was that it's really not like the immigrants' fault. Like, you can't fault them for wanting, more milk and honey, especially if they are coming from like what Trump refers to as a shithole country, right? Like, why wouldn't they want to, if given the opportunity, come to the land of milk and honey, if that's really what it is? And that was kind of an eye-opener for me, because I always kind of, when I'm driving around, avoiding immigrant drivers because they're a menace on the street. I'm like, God, yeah, fuck, I'm like, you can't really blame them. Not that it makes it okay that what's happening. It's just a system of corrupt politicians selling out their country, right? And you can't. At the end of the day, it all comes back to Bitcoin in a weird way, because when you fix the money, you fix all this, right? When you have endless money to print into oblivion, you can now change people's mind with a little bit of silver, right? Well, maybe this will change your mind. Relax these immigration rules, and, we'll take care of you on the back end. We'll give you a no-show board job at Steinstein, Goldberg, and what have you. And then, you can parachute into your early retirement too. How's that? You almost can't blame them either, right? But you can't do that with hard, sound money. No one's going to really give it up when it's that valuable. When it's absolutely worthless, but you can take it and put it into a hard asset. That's where you get all this corruption. It'll be an interesting experiment in the future when and if it survives, to see how different humanity is on a hard sound money system, because we haven't really seen it. I would say maybe the closest was the 80s and the 70s, because it was the first reaction to fiat currency. So we were in I wouldn't even call it a honeymoon phase, because there was incredible inflation, right after they went off the gold standard into the 80s. They really didn't know what the hell to expect, right? But now we are in just the insane asylum of the fiat experiment. And the corruption is at such high levels that it's almost unfixable. Or is it? 4-hour chart. What the hell did what the hell didn't I hear in Jerry Pow Pow's Booze Breath? I mean, I thought I heard everything. What did I hear? I went to bed. I heard everything. Went to bed and woke up. Actually, no, I went to a Duke's Christmas concert. And I got back and I'm like, what the hell? Because I have, on my TV, I have the 24/7 fire log chart. I come in, I'm like, is that a big old red? It is a big old red candle. What the? Right? What did I miss? What did he say? Something I didn't miss? Did he have a little hawkish tone on something? A little hawkish undertone or overtone that I didn't really pick up on? Well, apparently the market did. Or maybe it's those big old darn nerdy whales selling again. I was watching the stream. I was watching Druth's stream with it's just so boring. It's like, I guess I'm officially over it, right? Like I was in a weird way excited to watch the FOMC meeting. That's how boring my life is now. And it was almost like I was watching the financial Oscars of sort of what's going to happen, who's going to win here. And halfway through, I'm like, I'm over it. This is as boring as it's always been in my whole life. And maybe it's boring for a reason, to bore everyone out, right? It's so incredibly important, but so incredibly boring that it really just turns your mind into mush, and you're like, next, and you're out. But it didn't seem like it was very volatile, like up and down, up and down, up and down. And then it kind of, it was essentially a nothing burger for the first 4 hours after it. And then all of a sudden it just pooped down. And now it went down to right at our channel of Ascension's support, threw a wick down there and kind of bounced up. Now we don't want to break out of here. Like, do we? Is this all nothing but higher lows? Yeah. We're still in an upward trend and a downward mood, right? But we still got to get we're not even above the 200 moving average. What are we talking about here? Nothing. If you're not if you're under the 200 moving average, it's safe to say you're going further down, right? That is the 50-yard line of pain and pleasure, the 200 moving average on the 4-hour chart. Which, if you saw Ben Cowan's tweet yesterday, it's not it's not a 200 moving average. It's the 200 moving average on a 33.3%, blah, blah. We holy smokes, 1 second. Just TV so loud. It's incredible. Jimmy Coco FMC is a good candidate for a 2-minute AI summary. Yeah, well, it really, everything that was kind of baked in right here, right, this little pump here, that was basically, like I said, that's the insiders that know what he's going to say. And guess what this is? This is the insiders selling back to all the dummies, right? So all the traders are like, I'm going to get some leverage and I'm in. Boom, done. You're liquidated. Your life savings gone. Over Jerry Pow Pow's Booze Breath meeting. So we don't want to break here. What do we got? The only place we have, that which once wicked will get candlesticked at 88K. Let's put that in. 88K. 87.9 to be precise. That is that which once wicked will get candlesticked. And then the next, I guess we could go to 83.4. Let's call it 84. 84K-ish. That's on the downward trajectory. Now, and just to be bullish, just to be remotely bullish, we got to be up at the 200 moving average. Let's call it 93K. 93K. You can see these price predictions all have downward cascading likenesses. 93K-ish. 200 moving average. Right? Because we're not there. We got nothing to talk about. We got nothing to write home about. I wouldn't phone anyone at home and tell them what the price is, even when it's 93K. You're not going to believe this. We're at the 200 moving average. Click. Hello? I thought you'd click. Is anyone? No? No one would care. Over on the daily chart, we have fallen out of this channel of ascension. We did it before, back here in December 1st. Feels like forever ago, doesn't it? December 1st. We had this hella bullish engulfing candle, but we got denied from this channel of ascension. We are respecting this channel, this tight little channel of ascension. Now we dropped out. But we're going to maybe we just bingo bongo off this 20 moving average. Is this the 20 moving average, Ben Cowan, or do I got this wrong too? The 20 moving average on the daily chart. This is where you know we're entering a bear market, when you see big YouTubers like the Wolf of Wall Street or whatever his name is, and Ben Cowan back and forth correcting each other. It's funny. It's like the whole environment starts to kind of invert and, eat itself as they search for answers, as the Bitcoin hodlers descend into madness. Now, let's see if there's any confluence. Just to get back into this channel of ascension, we'd have to be at 91.5. Do we have 91.5 here? Where's 91.5? Oh, yeah, right here. The 20 and the 50 moving average. So that would make sense that our first kind of headwinds would be there, getting back into it. But really, if we can candlestick wicks on the downside, can't we candlestick wicks to the upside? The answer, no, because there's no buyers. It's a nice thought, though. But this is where we would be, 94.7. Let's put that in. Next, delusionally bullish, 94.7. That's where we'd like to be. 94.7. That would be maybe as bullish as we've felt in a month or so, because we've been really on a downswing since October 10th. Wick. That's the kind of copium I need. Yeah, it's been a lot of copium coming down the pipes. I see the marketing aspect of certain companies gearing up. They're actually, this is the worst part. They're rehypothecating old clips, and when you see them, or when I see them, I'm like, I hit the grok thing, right? It's like, this is a clip from March 6, 2024. I'm like, you sons of bitches. Like the audacity and just the desperation of regurgitating old clips like they're new. I see that they just posted it. It says posted it today, but they're regurgitating it. There's even though we're drowning in a sea of dad rule bullish fundamentals, we're drowning in it, but they're regurgitating old stuff. And the truth is, if there's no buyers, what are we talking about? So if I was going to be, this isn't copium either. This is the worst part. This is just straight at you, dad. This is what your dad says when you played a shitty game, and your mom was like, "You tried super hard. We're very proud of you, and we just like to see that you're trying your best out there, right?" That's the copium. Dad would come and say, "Yeah, it wasn't your best game. You didn't do well. It's like you didn't care. Are you sure you even want to be in this? Because it didn't look like you even wanted to play that game. If you don't want to play the game, don't waste anyone's time. I mean, the coach invests in you, and this probably go like this. Better done like this. I mean, the coach is investing in you, right? He's putting the time in to make sure that you, as a team member, take the team higher, right? But you're sitting there just kind of dragging your heels, and it's not impressive, and no one likes it. So you're wasting everybody's time. So you either you should have get off the pot, fish or cut bait, but you're not gonna do this to this team anymore, because we're just going to move on without you. And so what I would have to say is that without buyers, and this is my John Travolta, without buyers coming in, where do you think the price is going to go? Like if we're just Mike Tofino used to be in Duke's Jiu-Jitsu on Tuesdays and Fridays. He's tuning in. I hope Tofino's okay. Hope he's doing well. Hope you guys are doing well. But here's my John Travolta. If there's no buyers, where do you think the price is going to go? Down. It's as simple as that. Like that, when we get down to the real fundamentals of, a market, a functioning market, if there's no buyers, the price will go down. And I think that's what we're seeing. Because what this bull market has done to potential retail, people that are kind of on the fence, like just, that guy behind the tree, that black guy behind the tree that's doing this meme, looking at the price, I'm going to get into Bitcoin, this bull market. And then they see the price dumping on every single good news story. Then they slowly stop rubbing their hands, and they're like, I guess I'm going to wait more. It doesn't look like the price is going up. They hear all these fundamental hopiums blowing up their Adirondacks, but the price goes down, right? So it's really kneecapped potential retail, because they're if they were eager, they're not eager anymore, because the marketing is price. If the price goes down, that's negative marketing. Not like bad publicity is good publicity. It only works for everything but Bitcoin. In Bitcoin, bad publicity is bad publicity. It scares people away. Like I said yesterday, where I'm at the point now where when I see, Michael Saylor buying, or, this hedge fund did this, or this country in the Middle East is talking with Michael Saylor, I don't care, because they're just buying OTC. So they're in their own club, and they're just buying from each other's wallets, not affecting the price. And, the retail behind the trees, like, I heard, Dubai's buying. That should be good. The price goes down, right? This doesn't. Then again, Tofino is Duke's buddy's name, Tofino, which is a pretty cool name. This is a funny thing. There's nothing to talk about. Do we really want to go over what price didn't do except for go down? If you are a Gen Xer, this is pretty funny.
There's something fascinating about people who grew up in the 1970s, and psychology can prove it. If you grew up in this era, your brain developed during a rare evolutionary window, a time of total freedom combined with genuine responsibility. And here's what's interesting. Most people who grew up in the 70s look at our current generation and just laugh. Not in a mean way, but because they know something the rest of us don't. They experienced something that can never be recreated. A time so magical, so free, that decades later, they still say things like, I wish I could go back and stay there, or...
I say that to Duke all the time. Like, I've almost romanticized the 70s and 80s to the point where Duke wishes he grew up there.
We really didn't know how good we had it. To put it even perfectly, we grew up on hose water.
Now, the interesting thing about hose water, and anyone who drank hose water will know this, is that in order to get to the good water, you had to drink the bad water. The water that was sitting, coiled up in the hot sun in the plastic, just leaching all that plastic goodness, and it's hot almost, right? But you had to get through it. I mean, you're not going to not drink it, right? You could drink the hot plastic PCBs, and then you finally get to the cold water. Anyone who drank hose water knows that story.
We were feral, and it was glorious. So what made the 70s so special? And more importantly, what did it do to your brain that makes you different today? The first trait is what researchers call self-directed problem solving. And it started with one phrase every 70s kid remembers: go find something to do. Or I'll find something for you to do. You knew exactly what that meant.
That's an interesting thing because when, I haven't seen this video to the end. I've seen it almost up to here, but I don't think I've ever said that to Duke, go find something to do. Because honestly, I'm not sure the kids would know what to do. What do you mean go find something to do? You need to find something for me to do, don't you? It's weird. I'm going to start using that. Hey, go find something to do.
If you dared say you were bored, suddenly you were folding clothes or sweeping floors. So you learned fast. Figure it out yourself. Studies on unstructured childhood show that children who had to create their own entertainment developed significantly stronger executive function and creativity. You weren't handed activities. You weren't scheduled. You had to invent your entire day from nothing. This is why you devoured books, explored on your bike for hours, or spent entire afternoons in the woods building forts.
Or burning down the woods. Like if you were a boy, there's a strange line between boys and pyromania, right? Like with the young boys have a slight infatuation with fire, right? So we were always lighting things on fire. It was weird. Like, where did we get the matches? Oh, that's right. We got from our parents who all smoked, right? They all smoked cigarettes. So we'd just be like, yoink. This is before we stole the cigarettes. We'd just steal the lighter because we're going to we're going to look at some old Playboys in the woods, and then we're going to maybe burn down the woods after. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
You can say to yourself, I was never bored. I devoured books or explored on my bike, loved my independence. Your brain learned something modern childhoods skip entirely: how to generate purpose from emptiness. Now, that explains your creativity, but it doesn't explain why you seem almost supernaturally calm in chaos. That comes from this next trait: adaptive risk calibration. You grew up climbing trees that were definitely too high, riding bikes without helmets, throwing rocks at each other, setting things on fire with fireworks. You can say, that was our internet. Every scraped knee, every minor disaster, every close call was teaching your nervous system something crucial. Research in developmental psychology shows that children who experienced physical risk in play developed better threat assessment and lower baseline anxiety as adults.
Now that I think about it, and I'm not sure Duke has climbed trees, but not like we climb trees. Like we were trying to get to the top of the tree, right? Like, how high can I get here before I fall and break my arm? That was like just what we did, right? Now, if Michael's still listening, got a story here from Duke's playground activities. Some kid thought he was going to pick on Duke. And because Michael told me a story that Tofino did the same thing. And Duke he hates going to jiu-jitsu, right? And I'm like, one day you're going to thank me because you're going to kick everyone's ass if they F with you, right? But they don't understand that till they're older. Anyway, some kid tried to do something to Duke, and he immediately kicked into his wrestling. He hooked up his leg, drove into his chest, took him down, and then took his back. And so Duke was like, you might get an email from the principal about an incident. I'm like, okay, well, here's my only question. Who started it and who finished it? And he's like, he started it, I finished it. I'm like, okay, well, good for you.
Your brain learned the difference between actual danger and manageable risk by living it, not by watching it on a screen or having a parent intervene. You broke bones, you got scars, and that honestly felt like a Medal of Honor with a story behind it. This is why you can walk into a crisis and just start solving it while everyone else is panicking. But here's where it gets deeper, and this is the piece most Gen Z will never understand. You carry what researchers call comfortable solitude capacity. You spent hours in your room listening to music. You laid on the grass, just talking to friends. You explored alone, not because you were lonely, but because there was no screen demanding your attention every 3 seconds.
I think this video is slowly rewiring my take on being a dad, actually. I have to implement some of these things now that I recognize what I am now based on what I did then, which is like I always say, I'm never bored. I'm never bored. Like, I'm never bored. There's not 1 second of my day that I'm bored. It just doesn't come into I can always find something to do, think about something. You know, sometimes I'll just watch my imagination go, right? I'm never bored. And I see that in the kids. They're always bored.
Studies on pre-digital childhood found that people who grew up before constant connectivity show significantly less anxiety when alone with their thoughts. In fact, recent research had participants choose mild electric shocks over sitting quietly for 15 minutes. You'd probably find that ridiculous. You learned early that boredom isn't an emergency. At that time, you know you can never get bored as a kid. Your brain never developed the addiction to constant stimulation that defines modern life. This is why you can wait in long lines without losing your mind. The fourth trait is something psychologists...
I lose my mind in lines, though. That's never changed, especially in Canada. Like when I go to Superstore to get like my bag of coffee or something, the only reason I'm there for, and I have to wait in line like from 20 immigrants. It's just like I'm in the under 15 line, but they all have 30 items, and I'm like, you shouldn't be in this line. This is the express line that specifically says 15 and under. I can tell that's just because you're with your husband and you don't split up 30. You know what I'm saying?
It's called analog patience, and it shaped you in ways you probably don't even realize. You waited for your favorite show once a week. No binge watching. You took photos and waited days to see if they turned out. You wanted to talk to someone. You memorized their phone number and hoped they were home.
Here's my question for all the men out there, which is probably everyone on this stream, unless Alexandra Top G is still here. Remember the first time you phoned a girl, you know, like in, I don't know, grade 6 or 7 or 8. I don't know if you did this, but what I did is I chalkboarded out things to say. Like I had little points where, okay, if there's nothing to say, I'm going to maybe talk about, do you think that we'll ever have driving cars like Kit or Knight Rider? Or what about, do you think we'll ever talk into watches like Knight Rider or Kit? Or do you think you'll ever own a car like Knight Rider or Kit?
Research on delayed gratification shows that people who grew up waiting for things have better impulse control, better relationship outcomes, and better career success. Your entire childhood was training in patience that modern life actively destroys. This is why instant gratification doesn't satisfy you the way it does for younger generations. And here's the trait that ties everything together.
Losing 90K.
You have what I call unsupervised autonomy wiring. At 8 years old, you left the house in the morning and your parents' only rule was be back before the streetlights come on. Nobody knew where you were. Nobody tracked your location. You rode your bike to creeks a mile out of town. You
Lit
played
on
in
fire.
the woods. You went to neighborhoods far from home. And a random stranger might even offer you a lemonade and sandwiches after playing in a creek all day. But today, that would result in police calls.
Now I'll let it play. I know it's probably annoying here, but when I was a paper boy when I was 10 years old. Like when I was Duke's age, I was a paper boy, right? Now the craziest part of being a paper boy was that I had to go. It's called collecting, right? Collecting. I had this little thing with a hole puncher, you know. And when I collected the paper money for the paper, I had to punch the hole, right? But anyway, the craziest part about all of that was that in order to collect, I had to ding dong go to like 250 houses and go into their house, 10 years old, wait for the collection. Yeah, where's my $2? What was that? Better Off Dead. That was that movie, Better Off Dead. I was that kid. Where's my $2? And they would find $2 and I would put it in a little pouch. Like, I wasn't robbed or the reason why I think it's so crazy is that I would be calling the diddle police, or I'd be with Duke, because like one of these dirty little monsters are probably going to do something, right? No one ever thought that back then.
Back then, it was normal. Research on childhood independence shows that children who had freedom of movement without constant supervision developed stronger internal motivation and decision-making skills. You had to assess situations, make judgment calls, and deal with consequences yourself. Your parents weren't your friends, they were the authority, and they trusted you to be competent. This is why you can plan, adapt, and think critically without external guidance. Every time you look at today's world and feel out of place, remember this: you're not outdated. You're carrying forward capabilities that are going extinct. The independence that looks like coldness, that's competence. The comfort with silence that looks like antisocial behavior, that's depth. The ability to wait that looks like apathy, that's discipline. You survived a childhood that would get parents arrested today, and it didn't damage you, it built you. Most people will say, "I feel honored to have been able to grow up this way." Or, "We lived through the best decade to be a kid." And they're right. For a brief moment in human history, childhood was both completely free and genuinely formative. You got to experience something that doesn't exist anymore. A world where kids were civilized and feral at the same time.
Amazing, right? I always think back, I was so lucky to have grown up in the 80s. It was such a crazy time to be a kid. No rules, no nothing. Go out all day, light things on fire, not eat. You're never hungry, but you never ate until you came home and you just wolfed down something. Your parents didn't even ask where you were. Where were you today? Right? Like, so imagine if Duke went out for a whole day, he came back at 6, I'd be like, where were you all day? And of course, he would give me the same answer that I gave my parents when they asked, "What'd you do today?" Nothing. Make sure you like and subscribe.